Good morning. This is Professor Ramesh Kumar Mehta, and today I am going to give an introduction to perquisites. There are so many perquisites, and some of them are taxable, some of them are exempted from tax, and we are going to have a comprehensive understanding about different types of perquisites in this particular session of 1 hour. So, what is a perquisite? It means any benefit in addition to salary and wages. So until so far, what we have seen that there is in the component of salary, there is a basic salary, commission, fees, bonus, allowances, and retirement benefits. But the most another important component of salary, which is mentioned in the appointment letter, are the different types of perquisites to which the employee is entitled to, are the perquisites or benefits which are allowed by the employer to the employee are mentioned in the appointment letter. So today and in the forthcoming sessions, we are going to talk about perquisites. So already which we have seen that perquisites is nothing but it is an addition to salary and wages. Number one, they are not paid in the form of cash. They are a kind of facility provided by the employer to the employee, and any sum paid by the employer which otherwise would have been payable to by the employee, which would have been payable to the employee. Okay, for example, in place of HRA, we are giving rent free housing accommodation to the employee. Number one, car. In place of traveling allowance or conveyance allowance, we are the employer is providing to the employee car facility, and amenities are provided free of cost. And on top of it, we have something called as a concessional interest on housing loan or car loan or vehicle loan or education loan, so on and so forth. For example, here I am talking about interest free loan. Hope you are able to see the screen. Please respond yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, housing loan. For example, SBI extends loan for housing finance to the customers at 15% per annum. But if somebody is working in Tata Motors and if is getting from Tata Motors a housing loan at 3%, so the same loan, if he would have taken it from if the employee would have taken it from SBI would have charged some 15%. But because of employee-employer relationship, by virtue of the employment from the Tata Motors, this employee is getting 3% loan for housing finance. So he is getting an advantage of 12%. So this is called as a perquisite. So cash is not paid directly to the employee, but it is a kind of facility. So another example of perquisites. Next one is the so hope you have understood there is an advantage to the extent of 12% on the loan taken from the employer by the employee. The benefit should be from the employer to the employee and to be charged as a salary. And these perquisites are in the form of cash and it should have a legal origin. Okay. Next one. Next one is as already we have seen in the last class, but still I'm repeating it. Perquisites are defined as causal emoluments or benefits attached to an employment. Perquisites are taxable and included in the gross salary. So just now I told that 12% is the extra benefit the employee is getting from the situation where he is taking a loan from the employer at a concessional rate of 3%. So if he has taken a loan for housing finance to the extent of 50 lakh rupees per annum, 50 lakh rupees per annum. So advantage what is getting is 12% is equal to 6 lakhs per annum. So this 6 lakhs is the value of the perquisite. This 6 lakhs is called as the value of the taxable value of the perquisite. Taxable value of the perquisite in the sense that this particular amount of 6 lakhs is going to be added to the gross salary and it is going to be taxed. So gross salary को add किया जाएगा और tax इसके ऊपर लगाएंगे. So perquisites are allowed by the employer to the employee, and this particular benefit or facility is provided by the employer to the employee during the continuation of the employment. Number three, directly dependent on service and resulting in natural and personal advantage to the employee. Here, there is an advantage to the employee because if we would have drawn or taken loan from the bank, he would have paid 15% interest on the loan taken for housing finance. But because he's working in the with the employer, and the employer is providing to the employee a concessional loan of 3%, so he is getting advantage of 12%. So there is a personal advantage to the employee because of this. And why this employer is providing? Because of the virtue of the employer's authority and employee working in the organization. Next one. So now we got a list of perquisites. Just I will read some of them and I will explain some of them. And in the forthcoming classes, we are going to talk about the taxability, how much is going to be taxed, how much is going to be exempted, whether fully taxable or fully exempted, so on and so forth. So number one is housing accommodation. Some of the examples of perquisites are read by me. I'm reading it for your understanding purpose. Please pay attention. Number one is housing accommodation with or without furniture. For example, I already several times I spoke about this particular example. For example, I'm working in Pune in Tata Motors or Infosys or Satyam, and then I'm transferred to a place in Bangalore. Now I don't have accommodation over this place because I'm not a native of Bangalore. So what the employer is going to do? The employer is going to tell me that there is an apartment or there is a housing facility where you can go and stay over that place. So that is called as housing accommodation provided by the employer to the employee. And these housing accommodations can be of many types. Free accommodation means I will go and stay, I will not pay anything. Or concessional accommodation means the rent would have been something like 15,000 per month. Concessional means 15,000 per month is the actual rent at which he could have lent, but he's lending me he's renting me out at 3,000 per month. So this is concessional to the extent of 12,000 rupees per month. So accommodation can be rent-free accommodation or concessional accommodation. Number two, number three, it can be with furniture or without furniture. Okay, so that advantage also there. Along with the house accommodation, he can provide me with a sweeper, with a cook, with a sweeper, with a cook, with a gardener, and he will. The employer is going to pay the salary to the sweeper, to the cook, uh, and the security guard. So for example, he has even deployed a security also. Okay, so this is the advantage I am getting because of my nature of the work and because of working in the organization. So these are going to be put to tax, and we are going to find out how much is taxable, how much is not taxable, all this stuff. So this is a very interesting particular chapter where we are going to spend a lot of time on understanding various perquisites. And there are so many perquisites, each and every element of it, each and every perquisite you have to understand thoroughly one by one. Okay, hope you have understood till so far. Now next one is we have seen this gas, electricity and water. So the employer is providing to the employee gas cylinder, electricity also, and water also, and he's on behalf of the employee, the behalf of the employer, sorry, the employee is paying the electricity bill, the gas bill, and the water bill of the employee. Number three. Number four is telephone bill and mobile bill of employee is paid by the employer. So this is also a perquisite. And there are so many assets which belong to the employer. The assets belong to the employer. The assets belong to the employer, and the employee is asked. The employee is given the freedom, the liberty to use these assets which belong to the employer. For example, car is there, or motor vehicle is there, or we have computers, laptops, so on and so forth. Who is the owner? The owner is the employer, but the employee is using them for his personal use. So he is getting an advantage directly. So there is an element of value attached to this usage of the assets which belong to the owner, that is the employer. So we have to find out the value of this particular perquisite, and we have to find out how much is going to be taxed. So in the forthcoming classes, we are going to discuss a lot about the perquisites. Next one. Next one is sale of assets to the employees. This is also very important. For example, sale of assets to the employee by the employer. Now assume there is a car which belongs to the owner. that is the employer, and the value of the car is 10 lakh rupees on this day. On this day, when I'm talking about 26th August 2020. Now, this belongs to whom? To the employer or the owner of the company. Now, there is a provision wherein he can sell the access to the employee at a concessional rate. For example, the employer calls the employee and tells that you can purchase this car for 2 lakh rupees. So what is happening? 10 lakh rupees of worth of assets which belong to the employer are sold to the employee at 2 lakh rupees. So what is the advantage the employer got? The employee has got an advantage of rupees, a benefit of rupees 8 lakhs. So this is the value of the perquisite, and this is going to be taxed. This amount is going to be taxed, and it is going to be added to the uh, gross salary of the employee. Gross salary of the employee. Hope you have understood it. Next, so we are going to talk about so many aspects under this particular uh, phenomenon of perquisites also in the forthcoming classes. So at least for another 2-3 days, we are going to talk about the various perquisites, how much is going to be taxed, how much is going to be exempted, and so on and for. There is no question of exemption, but in certain cases there is an exemption, but in certain cases it is fully taxable. In certain cases it is fully taxable. Now let's look at another example. Now already I have told this example. The example is loans to the employee without interest or at lower interest. For again I am repeating. For example, I am working in Infosys. I am working in Infosys for 10 years or 15 years. I've worked, and now today I want a house to be constructed, and the house, if I am going for construction, is 50 lakh rupees. Okay, now the same, if I take a loan from SBI might charge, for example, okay, 16% rate of interest for the housing loan. For the housing loan. Now, it's a very costly affair for me, because paying 16% is almost 8 lakh rupees per annum as a rent, as a interest. So what I do, if there are provisions in the appointment that I can take a concessional loan from the employer, and in this case, Infosys is my employer, then I can apply for a loan. And if it is granted, then it can be granted, for example, 3%. So I have taken a loan at 50 lakh rupees worth loan. I have taken at just 3%. This is called as concessional. So how much concession I have got? If the same amount would have been taken from SBI, I would have been charged. This is the benchmark, we call it. Okay, benchmark. You have to benchmark with SBI rate of interest for the similar kind of loan. So SBI would have charged 16%, but because of my employment and by virtue of my employment and the employee-employer relationship, he's giving me a 3%. So what is the advantage I got? 16% minus 3% is equal to 13% advantage I got. Now it has to be translated into rupees or value. So 50 lakhs into 13% is equal to 6.5 lakhs. 6.5 lakhs is the amount which I am paying less because of the loan taken from the employer. So this 6.5 lakhs is called as taxable value of the perquisite. That is the loan which I am taking it from the employer on a housing loan at a concessional rate of 13%. Concessional rate of 13%. Now here there is another word called as without interest. Now there can be like, here they are charging me 3%, but some companies, if you are taking loan from them, they are charging only 0%. So this is called as interest-free loan. So 16%. If I would have taken the loan from SBI, it is 16%. But if I am taking the similar loan from my own employer or the owner, he is charging me 0%. So 0% is nothing but interest-free loan. So advantage is 16%. So this is what is called as interest-free loan or concessional loan. Hope you have understood. So this is also an example of a perquisite. Now let's look at the another perquisite. Some of the examples I will read out, because these are very, very important from exam point of view, from knowledge point of view, from consultancy point of view, where you can give consultancy to those people who are having this kind of perquisites from the employer. Next one is club membership. So if you are taking any membership from the any membership, and this membership amount is paid by the employer to the owner of the club, then this particular payment was of employee, and the payment is done by the employer. So this is also an perquisite which is fully taxable. Next one is car facility. This is very, very important. Car facility. For example, now I am working in Infosys as a manager. Infosys as a manager. Now Infosys provides me with a car, with a car, with a big car, I will call it. And in the car, they are even providing me a driver also for the car, because I don't know the driver, who is called as chauffeur, we call it. In general language, you call as chauffeur. So they are providing me with a big car, they are providing me with a driver, and this particular car along with the driver, I'm using, they are even paying the petrol expenses and other expenses also, petrol expenses and oil, lubricants, and other expenses also, maintenance expenses, they are taking care of it. But what I am doing, I am using this car, the driver and the expenditure for my personal use. For example, my family members are using it for some period of time, personal use. This particular car is used for personal use, or 50% of the time it is used for official use, and 50% of the time it is used for personal use. So when I am using this car for personal use, and the car belongs to the owner, who is the employer, Infosys in this case, that the company is even providing the driver also, and all the expenses towards petrol, diesel, oil, etc., are taken care by the employer, and I am using it for my personal benefit. So it is a perquisite, and the value of the perquisite is to be determined, and that is fully taxable. This is the meaning of it. Next one. So another, we have seen another set of what do you call uh, perquisite. Another set of perquisite. Hope you have understood it. Next one. Next one is a leave travel concession. Now, what do you mean by leave travel concession? Leave travel concession is very, very important. For example, if you have worked in an organization, you are working for an organization, you work for 4 years or 5 years, something like that, and there is a provision that you can take a leave, and then you travel to a particular place, and whatever are the expenditures incurred by you for traveling from from your place to the place where you want to travel, then if the employer is taking care of the expenditure part, then that is the perquisite which is provided by the employer to the employee. For example, I will give a small example. Uh, with that you will understand. For example, I am working in Axis Bank as a manager, and I have worked for 4 years. Now I'm tired, I want to get relaxed. So myself, my spouse, my daughter, my son, so on and so forth, will apply for a leave travel concession, and tell that I want to go to Simla or Goa or Ooty, Goa or Ooty, like that. And I am going it by either by by airways, or by roadways, or by waterway, or by railways. Okay, by bus or by rail. So all the expenditure, and then I am going to stay over that place for 8 days, and for staying over that place for 8 days, boarding and lodging, that expenditure also is taken care by the employer. So this is what is called as leave travel concession, and all the, if the expenses are taken care of the employee by the employer, then it is a perquisite, and we will find out how much is taxable and what are the taxability conditions of this perquisite. Hope you have understood it. So another example, you got it. So this is another perquisite which is provided by the employer to the employee because of the bond what there is, and by the virtue of the employment. Next one is medical facility. Medical facility. This is also very, very important. Medical facility also is very important. Now, we spoke about medical allowance. Medical allowance is nothing but it is paid in the form of monthly salary, which is a component of salary. It is fully taxable. It is fully taxable. It is paid in the form of cash. Whereas medical facility is something different. Something different. For example, so the employee employee falls sick. So, but he's not given medical allowance. Medical allowance. So, if the terms and conditions of the employment states that you go to a government hospital and get admitted and get checked up your medical, you take care of your, you go to medical hospital and government hospital and you get checked, then whatever the expenditure incurred by you for the medical treatment, the company is going to reimburse to the government hospital. This is a case of medical facility provided by the employer to the employee. Another example is, for example, Tata Motors is there, and I am working with Tata Motors. SRK is Ramesh Kumar Mehta is working in Tata Motors. Okay. Now Tata Motors says that I am not going to give you medical allowance, but what I am going to do, you go to a private hospital and you get your medical checkup whenever you are not feeling well, or whenever there is a health problem, you go and get medical checkup, and whatever are the expenditure incurred by you, I will reimburse to the medical hospital. So this is the example of what you call medical facility provided by the employer to the employee. Medical facility provided by the employer to the employee. Another example I will give you that will make you clear what we are talking about. So one is medical facility provided by the employer to the employee, where the medical treatment you are getting it from government hospital, and all the expenses are reimbursed by the employer, sorry. In the same way, you are getting ill and you are going to go a private hospital, and the hospital has taken care of your health, and they will tell that you, this is the expenditure which has incurred, and subsequently these bills are reimbursed by the employer directly to the private hospital. So this is a medical facility. Another example I will give you, with that you will understand thoroughly what we are talking about. For example, I am working in a company called as Reliance Industries. Reliance Industries. Myself, Ramesh Kumar Mehta, working in Reliance Industries. Now, Reliance Industries has got some 10, 15 hospitals, their own hospitals across the country, and the state that state it, they disclose to the employee that whenever you are ill or you are not okay, your health is not okay, go to these hospitals and get your health checked up, and the doctors over that place will take care of you. So here they are not going to charge anything. They are not going to charge nil charge. So there is a benefit you got because of the employee-employer relationship, because of the virtue of the employment. So this is the facility provided by the employer, medical facility provided by the employer to the employee. Hope you have understood it. Next one is educational facility. Next one is educational facility. Now, what do you mean by educational facility? I told you in my previous classes that in the previous classes I told you that there are medical educational facilities like children's educational allowance. Children's educational allowance. Now, what do you mean by children's educational allowance? Children's educational allowance is nothing but children's educational allowance is nothing but it is a allowance paid by the employer to the employee. If you remember well, in the when I was talking about allowances, I talked about children's educational allowance, and there was some amount which we found out is exempted from tax, and that amount is 100 rupees per month per child is exempted from tax up to 2 children, and over and above it, it is fully taxable. So that was an allowance at that time we were discussing. But today we are not talking about that allowance, but we are talking about educational facility provided by the employer to the employee. For example, Mr. X is there, Mr. Ramesh Kumar Mehta is there, Mr. Ramesh Kumar Mehta is there, and he has 2 children. He has two children. Now he is not given children's educational allowance. He is not given children's educational allowance. But my owner, who is the JSPM, tells that ask your 2 children to go and take admission in Blossom School. In Blossom School. Blossom School. So this is the perquisite provided by the employer to the employee in the form of educational facility. Here he is not either charging nominal amount of fees or he is charging free. Free में जाके आपके अपने बच्चों को पढ़ाई कराओ. So that is the meaning of the word educational facility, which is called as PERQ in short, perquisite in full form, which is exempted from, which is the value of the perquisite, which is a perquisite provided by the employer to the employee by the virtue of the so-called employee-employer relationship. Okay, so another example we will see, and then we will discuss a lot, and we will understand what are the perquisites. Next, another is health or health club or recreational facility. Health club or recreational facility is a perquisite provided by the employer to the employee. We will not go into the details. Next one is food or snacks provided by the employer. So, for example, if somebody is working in a company, he's been provided with food and snacks in place of what you call as tiffin allowance. What you call as tiffin allowance. Tiffin allowance or lunch allowance or dinner allowance is paid in the form of cash. Is paid in the form of cash. Tiffin allowance or lunch allowance or dinner allowance or something like that. Allowance is nothing but it is a monthly payment of a monthly payment, and it is a part of your salary which is paid in the form of cash. But when I'm talking about food or snacks, these are provided by the employer to the employee, and they are, for example, they are not charging anything, or they are charging nominal, something like that. Okay, so this is a facility you are getting because of the employment, because of the employment. So this is an perquisite. Hope you have understood it. Next one is monetary obligations of the employee paid or reimbursed by the employer. Monetary, we will see about provident fund and pension fund also. Nothing to worry. Next one is monetary obligations of the employer, of the employee, sorry, is paid or reimbursed by the employee. Now, what do you mean by it? I will give a small example. With that, you will understand it. What do you mean by monetary benefits? Monetary benefits is nothing but money benefits. Money benefits. Money benefits. Monetary is nothing but money. Now, let's see what is monetary benefit. Monetary benefit is nothing but, for example, here when I'm talking about monetary benefits, for example, this I am working in Infosys. I am working in Infosys for the last 15 years. I'm working myself, SRK Mehta, working in Infosys, and I have taken a LIC policy for myself, my spouse, my children, or I've taken a medical policy to secure my life in this case, and in this case my hospital bills. So I have to pay a premium every year. I have to pay life insurance premium or medical premium every year. So, for example, LIC, I have taken policies and I have to pay 1 lakh rupees as a premium every year for keeping in force my life insurance policy. Or I have taken a medical policy, and to every year I have to pay a medical insurance premium of 30,000 to the company from where I have taken medical policy. So now I have to pay 1 lakh here and 3 lakhs, 30,000 here. Now this 1 lakh and this 30,000, if it is paid by the employer on behalf of me, so my expenditure of 1 lakh rupees and 30,000 rupees is paid by the employee. So this is money. This is money, monetary benefit, money benefit. I'm getting a benefit of 1 lakh plus 30,000, which is called as monetary benefit. Another example I will give, with that you will understand it. So another example is, see, if I am earning some income, on this income, what I have to do? I have to pay income tax. I have to pay income tax. I have to pay income tax. And if the income tax is paid by the employer on my behalf to the income tax department, the expenditure is of the employee, and the employer is paying. So this is another example of a monetary benefit. For example, Mr. SRK Mehta is working in Hero Honda, and I have won some file. So 15 lakh rupees is my total income. 15 lakh rupees is my total income. Now on this 15 lakhs, assuming that I have to pay like 2 lakh rupees as income tax, I have to pay income tax at the end of the year, or for the assessment year. In the next assessment year, I have to pay on this 15 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees as income tax. Now the employer is paying the income tax on my behalf. So I am gaining 2 lakh rupees because this is my expenditure, which is paid by the employer because of the virtue of the employment, or because of my appointment letter, in which it is stated that all the income tax of the employee will be paid by the employer. So this is called as monetary obligation of the employee which is taken care or reimbursed by the employer. In the same way, income tax I told, professional tax we have to pay, that is also taken care by the employer. So these are some of the examples of perquisites. Now we have seen already this. Okay. Okay, we have seen this one also. Now, very important, we are talking about the most important one. Now, in the next slide, we are classifying the perquisites based upon the employment. Okay, very important classification of perquisites for taxation purpose. So, number one, if you look carefully, it is written that perquisites that are taxable in case of every employee. So, certain perquisites are there. Certain perquisites are there. For example, rent-free accommodation. Already I told what is rent-free accommodation. Particular free accommodation provided every employee fully taxable in case of a specified employee or ordinary employee or a specific employee. Ordinary employee, specific employee. Now your question, what do you mean by specified employee? An example, in the next there is a meaning. So whether it is a ordinary employee or a ordinary which is called the perquisite is fully taxable, is taxable in both cases. Regular employee, in all cases, see, these perquisites which are provided by the employee, talking about in case of extraordinary employee, or it is not extraordinary, we just for the name I am using it.
Hello.
It is a specified employee. We will the next slide to talk about specified employee.
हेलो सर.
Yes, any
हाँ
doubts?
सर, आपका आवाज ब्रेक हो रहा है.
बोलो, ब्रेक हो रहा है क्या? अभी
सर
बरोबर
अभी
आ
आ
रहा
रहा
है?
है.
Okay, okay. Now next one is perquisites that is exempted from tax for all employees. So first case, it was taxable in both the cases. Here it is taxable in case of specified employee, and here it is exempted in both specified as well as regular employee. Okay, so exempted, fully taxable, and taxable in case of specified employees. Now you will come to know who is a specified employee. For example, in a listed company, there are the chairman and managing director of the company, the board of directors of the company, the managers of the company. Now we will categorize them as specified employees under. If you look at the definition of specified employees, we'll come to know whether he's a specified employee or not. Specified employee or not. So, for example, Reliance Industries is there. Reliance Industries is there. Now, in Reliance Industries, there is a promoter or the owner who is called as Mukesh Ambani, who is none other than Mukesh Ambani. Now, Mukesh Ambani is the promoter of the company, and for being a promoter of the company or a director of the company or he's in the board of directors, he's getting salary. Now he is called as a specified employee. He is called as a specified employee if he is under these categories, if he is falling under this definition of a specified employee. Now let's look comprehensively what do you mean by specified employee. Employee who is called as a director of the employee who is a director in the company is a specified employee. Employee is director in the employer company. For example, this is the company and he is the promoter of the company and is employed in the company. Number one. Number two condition, he is having 20% or more stake in the ownership of the company or in the profits of the company. So in the Reliance Industries, Mukesh Ambani is holding more than 20% of the equity share capital. And apart from this, if he is also having the right to have a share of profit of the company of more than 20%, this is number two condition. Number three condition is employee has a salary, cash taxable salary of more than 50,000 rupees. If these three conditions fulfill, then he is called as a specified employee. करेक्ट है ना? स्पेसिफाइड एम्प्लॉय बोले तो ऑलमोस्ट वो ही ओनर है. नेक्स्ट वन. So this is again written here. You can go through once again and understand it. I will not go into the details because it is a company law which speaks, which gives thoroughly and understanding about specified employee. Okay. So specified employee, again I am showing you the some of the points. He's a director of the specified employees. Is the director of the company. He's having 20% or more of equity, voting power in the company. His salary is more than 50,000. After all this, his salary is excess of 50,000 rupees. Now, so already we have spoken about this medical facility, tea or snacks, free meals provided by the employer. Another particular requisite is, you can look here, free meals provided by the employer to the employee during the working hours in a remote area. For example, I am working in a forest because, for example, I am working in Coal India. There is a company by name Coal India. In Coal India, we extract coal from the earth crust. Earth crust means we have to go into the depth of the earth. There we have to extract coal. Now I can't be in office. For example, another example is a military man working in forest area. So when he's working in forest area or a remote area, something like that, then here the free meals are provided by the employer to the employee during the working hours. So this is also a perquisite provided by the employer to the employee. Next one is another example of perquisite. Just I am touching upon some important elements of perquisites. Next one is employer's contribution to staff group insurance scheme. This is also an uh, this is also an perquisite provided by the employer to the employee. Now, what do you mean by it? What do you mean by? If you look at the sixth point, I'm going to talk elaboratively about the sixth point. Pay attention to it. Pay attention to it. Okay. Now, employer's contribution to staff group insurance scheme. For example, there is a company by name Coal India Limited, where S. Ramesh Kumar Mehta is working, and there are also 1,000 employees who are working, and they are working in a very risky job because you have to go to the underneath the gold to the underneath the earth crust, and then you have to do production, extract coal, and it is a very dangerous job. So there is a element of risk in it, and if something goes wrong with the employee during the work or at the workplace, then the employer has to pay insurance amount to him. So what he does, he takes a group insurance policy from famous insurance companies like LIC, so on and so forth. So the premium of this group insurance, employees group or staff group insurance scheme, is paid by the employer. So if, as an employee, if I am getting any problem or if there is a mishap or an accident, then from this scheme I will be provided with some amount. So this is the perquisite provided by the employer to the employee by the nature of the work. Next one. So we have seen all these things. Free educational facility. So free educational facility, again I'm giving some more important point. Free educational facility provided by the employer to the employee's son or daughter or dependent brother or sister in an institution owned and maintained by employer to the children of the employee. For example, I told SRK Mehta working in JSPM, and my daughter or my son gets takes admission in Blossom School, which belongs to JSPM. So in this case, up to 1,000 rupees per month per child is exempted from tax, and there is no limit on the number of children. This is another example. Next one is interest-free loan. Already we have spoken about this interest-free loan or concessional loan. This is exempted from tax if the value of the loan which you have taken is not exceeding more than 20,000 rupees. Number one. Number two, if you are taking a loan from the employer for for the treatment of some specified diseases, then also if you are taking loan, then if the loan is provided at 0% or nominal interest, then also as you have taken the loan for the purpose of treatment of specified diseases, it is fully exempted from tax. The value of the perquisite is nil in this case. So already I have spoken about the 11th point. 11th point is sale of assets belonging to the employer to the employee, like computer, laptop, car, refrigerator, air conditioner, washing machine, so on and so forth, at a concessional price. Then it is there is a value attached to it. We have to find out the value in it, and we are going to do some numerical problems also. Just I am giving a background about the perquisites. Next one, transfer without consideration means some of the assets have been transferred by the employer to the employee at a concessional price. Also, we have seen this. Traveling facility provided by the employer to the employee. This also we have seen. Rent-free accommodation provided by the employer to the employee is taxable, and we have to find out the value of the perquisite. But in case of rent-free accommodation provided by the government to parliamentarians or union minister or leader, we have to find out how much is taxable. In this case, nothing is taxable. Hope you have understood it. So these are all we are going to talk about, the perquisites which we are going to talk about in the forthcoming days. Another example is there in front of us. Accommodation provided on transfer of an employee in a hotel for not exceeding 15 days. These are all tax free. These are all tax free, because see, I remember when I was working in a company by name Cholamandalam, and I was transferred to Bangalore, and there immediately I was not able to get a house. So they told me that you can stay in a hostel or hotel or lodge for 10 days, and the expenses are taken care by the employer. So if you are staying for a period of more than less than 15 days, and the expenses are reimbursed by the employer, so look at this point, it is fully exempted from tax. Next one is this, the value of the perquisite is nil in this case. Interest free loan for medical facility, already I told, if you are getting a loan for a medical treatment of a specified nature, and it is allowed by the government, the Central Board of Direct Taxes, then if you are getting an interest free loan or a concessional loan for the treatment of those diseases, then nothing is taxable, because we have seen that these are falling under the category of tax free perquisites provided by the employer to the employee. Next one is periodical and journals required for discharge of work. Now, for example, I am working in JSPM, and if I want to if I want to teach to the students, I should study the latest magazines, newspapers, periodicals, and journals. Then after reading this, I assimilate knowledge. After I assimilate knowledge, I discuss these things with the students in the classroom, and thereby I disseminate knowledge to the students. So if the employer is providing any periodicals or journals like this to me, by the nature of due to the nature of the work, it is fully exempted from tax. So summary of perquisites exempted for all the employees are in front of you. I will skip this one, because in the forthcoming classes we are going to talk about all this in detail. But I will just cover something. So summary of perquisites exempted for all employees. So even though it is a perquisite, it is fully exempted from tax. For example, any facility received only for official use. So for example, car facility, car plus driver is provided to me. Car and driver facilities provided to me, and this car and driver and the other expenses which are incurred by the employer for discharging the duties, and I am using this car only for official use. So nothing is, the value of this perquisite is zero, because there is no advantage, no benefit to me. What do you mean by a perquisite? Perquisite should be a benefit, but this car, the driver, the oil expenditure, the petrol expenditure, the diesel expenditure is used for which purpose? For official purpose, for discharging the official purpose. So I'm not getting any benefit. So this particular perquisite is fully exempted from tax, because it is a perquisite whose value is zero. Next one is use of computers, laptops, or devices for official purpose. For example, in this period of COVID, I am taking classes, or the teaching fraternity is taking classes from our house, from our homes. Now, what is happening because of this? Now, in my home, I don't have a classroom or benches or chairs, neither blackboard or whiteboard. But what I'm doing, I'm using laptop. This laptop is provided by the employer to the employee for discharging the duties. So what I'm doing, I'm using this laptop which belongs to the laptop or computer or iPad or tablet, which is called as an electronic device for official purpose, not for my personal purpose. So it is an perquisite whose value is zero, because I'm not getting any advantage because of the employer. I'm not getting any advantage. The advantage is zero. It is nil. So nothing is taxable. The value of the perquisite is nil. Another one is leave travel concession within limits. If they have prescribed some limits, and within these limits, if the expenditure is incurred for leave travel concession, as I told, from Pune to Goa, okay, the expenditure incurred is 4,000, and this is the limit. So nothing is taxable. So medical facility in hospital maintained by government and government approved or maintained by the employer. For example, I told Tata Motors is there. I am the employee, and I go to government hospital and I get admitted, and the government tells that you have to pay 20,000 rupees for your medical treatment. Now, so who is reimbursing this particular amount? The Tata Motors is reimbursing to government hospital. So if if the employee is getting medical treatment from a government hospital, or the hospitals maintained by the employer, the value of the perquisite is zero. Next one, educational facility of the employer. So I told you up to 1,000 rupees per month. Up to 1,000 rupees per month is exempted. Over and above, it is fully taxable. Food and snacks provided by the employer. कोई काम कर रहा है कॉलेज ऑफिस आवर्स में और उसको चाय दिया है, देयर इज नो वैल्यू टू इट. गिफ्ट्स दिया है, एम्प्लॉयर ने एम्प्लॉय को गिफ्ट्स दिया है और उसका वर्थ कितना है, 4,000 रुपया. द रूल इज up to 5,000 rupees, sorry, nothing is, the value of the perquisite is zero, nothing is taxable. In the same way, training expenses incurred by the employee. I will give you an example of training provided by the employer to the employee, and all the expenditures are taken care by the employer. Now, I will give a small example. With this, you will understand. What do you mean by training provided by the employer to the employee outside, in-house, so on and so forth, or something of that kind. For example, when I was working in while working in JSPM, what happened? They introduced, the government, the Pune University introduced a new topic called as, new syllabus called as indirect taxation under GST. So GST was newly introduced, and this was the new syllabus which was introduced in the finance specialization. And I am a finance teacher, and I don't, until this time, I was not having any idea about what is GST. So JSPM told me to join a course on GST provided by SPPU, and I went over to SPPU, that is Savitribai Phule Pune University, for 15 days, and all the expenditures incurred for getting the training were taken care by JSPM. And I am getting the benefit? No, I am not getting benefit, because this is for enhancement of my own knowledge, which can be used for the purpose of my students. So nothing is taxable. I already talked about premium on health and life insurance policies. Now, this is very important. Now we are going to talk about the first perquisite, which is called as medical facility. In detail, we are going to talk about. Already we have spoken a lot, but hence we are now into the perquisites on individual basis. We are going to talk about in detail. Medical facility provided to the employee are exempt from tax in the following cases. Medical benefit within India which are exempt from tax. See, whenever for the purpose of medical facility, we divide the medical facility or benefit into two parts. You are getting your benefit of medical benefit within India, and you are going to abroad, and you are going to abroad, and there you are getting hospitalized and you are being treated. So there are two different cases. So medical facilities can be divided into two parts: treatment in India, in India, treatment in India, and treatment in abroad. Treatment in abroad, and the expenditure is taken care by the owner or by the employer. By the employer. So in such a case, you are getting some benefit. But please remember, there are some rules which you have to remember. So treatment of the employee outside India, that is like America or England or Europe, Germany, you are going, and the employer is paying all the expenditures incurred for the treatment. So for the first, in the first case, we are going to talk about if you are getting as an employee, if you are getting medical treatment within India, and then what are the provisions, how much is the value of the perquisite, how much is taxable, what is the taxable condition, we will see that. Okay, now so medical facility within India which are exempt. So some medical facility you are getting from the employer because of the virtue of the employment, they are exempted from tax. So already I spoke about it. Medical treatment provided by the employer to an employee or the members of his family in a hospital maintained by the employer. Already I told, if Tata Motors is there, you are working as working over that place, and you are ill, your spouse is ill, your daughter is ill, your son is ill during the year, and they get treatment in a hospital which belongs to Tata Motors, the value of the perquisite is equal to nil. You have to just remember this, because the rule is says that if you are getting treatment in a hospital which is owned, maintained, and managed by the owner, nothing is taxable if you are going and getting the treatment over that place. Number one. Number two is B. If you look B, any sum paid by the employer in respect of expenditure incurred by the employee on medical treatment of himself and members of the family in a hospital maintained by the government of India or local authority. For example, Tata Motors is there. I am working in Tata Motors, and I fall ill myself during the year. My wife has fallen ill, my spouse, my daughter, my son, my dependent brother, dependent son, dependent father and mother, and they go to government hospital, and the bill is some 15 lakh rupees, 1,50,000 rupees. This particular bill is taken care by the, is reimbursed by the Tata Motors to the government hospital. So I am getting a perquisite to the extent of 1,50,000 rupees. In this case, the value of the perquisite is nil, because if employee is falling ill and gets his treatment in government maintained hospital, nothing is taxable. The value of the perquisite is zero. This is the meaning of it. Premium paid by the employer on a health insurance, so of the employee under an approved scheme. So already I told, if the employer is paying your life medical insurance premium or life insurance premium, then, and it is paid to whom, an approved scheme. Like for example, government of India has launched a medical insurance scheme, like and the employer has paid the insurance premium, then nothing is taxable. Now next one is very important here, very important. The last point is very important. Now, so the summary is that if you get your medical checkup in a hospital which belongs to the employer, sorry, nothing is taxable. If you get your medical treatment in a hospital belonging to government hospital, nothing is taxable. But what will happen if I am getting my treatment in private hospital? For example, Apollo hospital is there, or Sancheti hospital is there, Ruby hospital is there. They are all private hospitals. Now, if I get a medical treatment in a Ruby hospital for some heart disease, मेरे को हार्ट अटैक आ गया था और मैंने रूबी हॉस्पिटल में जाके चेकअप करवाया और 15 दिन उधर रुका था, मेरा ऑपरेशन हुआ और 5 लाख रुपया का खर्चा हुआ. The amount of expenditure incurred for my medical treatment for heart disease is 5 lakh rupees. Now, as I am getting this medical treatment in a private hospital, the rules is something different. The rule says that if you are getting a medical treatment in a private hospital, then up to 15,000 rupees, no problem per annum. But over and above 15,000 rupees, whatever is the difference, it is the value of the perquisite is that amount and it is fully taxable. So in this case, medical treatment is 5 lakh rupees. The exemption amount is 15,000 rupees. So the value of the perquisite is 4 lakh 85,000 rupees. 4 lakhs 85,000 rupees, and this 4 lakhs 85,000 rupees is fully is the value of the perquisite, and this is fully taxable. This is fully taxable. With this, I will end because it's 10:59. If you have any doubts, you can let me know.
सर आज का कोड क्या है?
You can just. आज का कोड है 514. आज का कोड है 514. Please remember, all these videos I am uploading it on YouTube. So you can visit my YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube, and from time to time you can take the notes from YouTube. I will be providing notes also, don't worry. But uh, please remember that my videos are there on YouTube also.